Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. Welcome to this session introducing the Indeed evaluation package. In this session, we will tell you what we have been doing in the Indeed project, one part of it, and a significant part of it to facilitate or take the field PV, CVE field forward in terms of evaluation. And I have three people here with me in this session to talk about this. They are all also from Indeed project. Um, we have Irina van der Vet from the University of Helsinki and Mina Prokic, who also worked at the University of Helsinki. They have worked together with me on this evaluation package, and my name is Leena Malkkinen. I'm from the University of Helsinki, and I have led the work package that has concentrated on the evaluation package in the Indeed project. And then we also have Stefan Klose from Vrije Universiteit Brussels, who some of you may have already heard yesterday, but who is also in the Indeed project and has worked on developing the evidence-based approach to evaluation with us. So what we will do in this session is that I first tell a little bit in general about the Indeed evaluation package, and then we will go into its different parts, and then Irina, Mina, and Stefan will join me in discussing them. And towards the end of the session, there will be also an opportunity for you all to ask questions, and you can use the chat function for that. But without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about the Indeed evaluation package and what it is about. So this evaluation package that we have developed, the main purpose of it is to introduce the principles and stages of evidence-based evaluation. We will soon go into what evidence-based evaluation means, and more specifically, we have designed this to be a package for policymakers and practitioners in the PV/CVE field in particular, um, and to introduce policymakers and practitioners for evaluation. Because what we have discovered is that actually, in order to make effective evaluations and take the field forward, we do not only need experienced and professional evaluators, but actually it requires that also those who are responsible for designing and implementing initiatives. It helps immensely if they also are more familiar with evaluation and what it involves. The evaluation package involves or includes step-by-step instructions on how to do evaluations, and it gives instructions also based on the situation that your initiative is on, or what kind of what kind of evaluation you want to want to plan and conduct. It is designed so that it's universal, so that it can be applied to all types of initiatives in different contexts and also in different sectors. So it can be applied to policies and strategies, but also small scale initiatives in different fields, from law enforcement to social work, and including also initiatives that are run by NGOs. We will very soon hear more about what this all means in practice. But before we go into that, let's stop for a little while and talk more about evidence-based evaluation, what that actually means. And we have Stefan here, who has kindly agreed to help us a little bit on understanding what that means. So It's very popular to talk about evidence-based practice and evidence-based approach, but it's maybe sometimes a little bit less clear what it actually means, and there are also a bit different ways to understand it. So could you, Stefan, tell us a little bit about how we understand it in the project?
Yeah, thank you, Irina. That's a good question. What does it mean to do evidence-based practice? So answers to that question have changed a bit over time, and they differ slightly across disciplines, but there is a fairly broad consensus that evidence-based practice refers to a decision-making process which draws on and integrates three key elements. You can see them in the graph here to the left. The first is available evidence, that is to say, findings of relevant research. The second is professional expertise or judgment. And the third is the careful consideration of stakeholder values, preferences, and circumstances. So importantly, evidence-based practice does not mean that research should decide the course of action, which is a fairly common misperception, but rather evidence-based practice means that available research should be competently integrated into decision-making processes, which should also always involve the careful consideration of the values and circumstances of those communities and individuals who are at the receiving end of a decision such as a measure to counter radicalization.
Very good. Thank you, Stefan. I think that this is very important to to emphasize here. Well, we now talked about evidence-based approach and practice, but what does it actually have to do with evaluation then?
First of all, it's of course important to note that evaluations are crucial for building an evidence base, which makes evidence-based practice possible and meaningful. So evaluation is an important enabler of evidence-based practice. But in our project, we go one step further, and we argue that evaluations should themselves follow the logic of evidence-based practice. So building on the notion of evidence-based practice, we define evidence-based evaluation as a process of planning and implementing evaluations which integrates available external evidence that includes, for instance, research on evaluation methods and research on the topic under investigation. It includes professional expertise or judgment, and finally, the consideration of stakeholder values, preferences, and circumstances.
Very good. And we will go into more detail about how we have applied that to evaluation. One question that may come to mind is then that how is evidence-based evaluation actually different from, well, evaluation in general? Like, why do we need this kind of concept, and what does it mean if you compare it to other ways to do evaluation?
Yeah, good question. So I think that it is first of all important to note that evidence-based evaluation does not stand in contrast to common evaluation designs and methods. So it is not an alternative to an impact evaluation or a process evaluation, but rather it gives us a framework of key principles which can guide the implementation of these evaluation designs. So a process evaluation can be evidence-based and it can be non-evidence-based. And whether a process evaluation is evidence-based or not, for instance, depends on the extent to which it seriously considers relevant research on the topic under investigation, or whether it seriously considers the preferences of key stakeholders. So ideally, evidence-based evaluation provides us with a framework which raises the quality of evaluations, whether these are then impact evaluations or process evaluations or formative evaluations. And perhaps one final point, which also came up in our conversation yesterday, it is important to stress that evidence-based evaluation in our definition does not favor one evaluation method over another, but rather our intention is to promote a methodological pluralism which equally values the benefits of both quantitative and qualitative research.
What is your impression, Stefan, about the state of evaluation in the PVE-CVE field now, and how much we already have evaluations, or how often have we had evaluations that are kind of similar to this kind of evidence-based approach, and more generally, how are we doing in terms of evaluation in the field at the moment?
How are we doing in terms of evaluation in the field? So that's a big question. To keep the answer short, I think there are some clear indicators that there is a growing appreciation for evaluation in the field of PCVE. There are some available studies that suggest that there is a growing number of evaluations in the field, and that is all encouraging. We also have a lot of great examples of evaluations which are implemented in the spirit of what we describe here as evidence-based evaluation. Some of them have been presented at this conference, but at the same time, there are also many evaluations where there's a lack of time, a lack of resources, a lack of careful planning and expertise, all of which limit significantly the extent to which evidence-based principles like the careful consideration of stakeholders are followed or can be followed. So in that sense, there's also still a long way to go to create an environment in which evidence-based evaluations can really thrive.
Yes, and hopefully we can then contribute to that already also in this project. Thank you, Stefan, for helping us to get started with understanding the approach that we have adopted in INDEED. We will now move on to the actual evaluation package, and the evaluation package has 3 components: a model and e-guidebooks and a tool. And I would next like to ask Irina to step in and start introducing the package in more detail by telling us more about the model.
Thank you very much, Lena. Just to check, can you hear me well?
We hear you well, Irina.
Yeah. And I will try to fix my connection also so that you will hear me better while you speak.
Sounds great. Yes, I will just very briefly introduce the model for evidence-based evaluation of PCV and deradicalization initiatives. So basically, this is the model. Yes, and now I can see the slide. This is the model which was developed by the INDEED project, and University of Helsinki was leading this task. So we started working on the model in June 2022, and we finished our work in January 2023. So let's say that it took us around half a year to finish working on this model. So there was a lot of work to do. Just as for the basis, we used scientific research on evidence-based evaluation of PCV and deradicalization initiatives. Plus, we also used the knowledge of practitioners. And here we used the deliverable, which was produced in Work Package 2, the gap analysis of stakeholders' needs in evaluation. So we first tried to understand what the needs are, what the current state of the art in the field of evaluation in general is in PCV. So we got a lot of input, and we also tried to integrate this input into the model. What we also did is that we analyzed available tools for evaluation and models and guides to evaluation. And of course, we looked at different evaluation reports in the field. So the model was basically, let's say, it is the result of the co-design approach. You know, we were 19 partners who were working on this model gradually. Plus, we also tested and validated the model, and we used our external networks of policymakers, of academics, with RAND practitioners, law enforcement, NGOs, and many other practitioners saw this model, and we collected a lot of input, and we tried to integrate everything again into the model. So just in a nutshell, what is the model for? Yeah, because when you hear the model, you might think about different things. So that is this some kind of example showing how evidence-based evaluation should look like? So basically, it is a theoretical model, yeah, and the major objective is to explain how to do an evidence-based evaluation of PCV and de-radicalization initiatives, so that this model will allow you, if you're a practitioner, to take part in evaluations or plan, design a self-evaluation as well. So basically the target group for using this model is practitioners and policymakers. But it is also useful for academics, maybe for funders, and for evaluation professionals. So basically this model works in the way that if you're not very familiar yet with this concept, you can just briefly look at it and be informed on what exactly evidence-based evaluation entails. So we call this model as universal, and we also got lots of comments and questions like what makes this model universal, because there are so many types of initiatives, because there's a variety of contexts where CVE and PVE resides. So universal in the sense that it is firstly based on relatively universal principles of evidence-based evaluation. This is on the one hand. And on the other hand, that the model is applicable to different contexts, to different initiatives, sectors, and geographical contexts. Meaning that the principle of evidence-based evaluation is more or less the same, but of course there are so many details, nuances, that are not taken into account at the level of the model itself. But we tried to look at all those nuances and details, which actually matter a lot, in our tool. So this is the next product. But let's say that this model is a theoretical construct. And as you see from the picture, there is a circle which basically visualizes the principles of evidence-based evaluation, stakeholder evidence and analysis, something which Stefan introduced. So there is this definition of evidence-based evaluation that we used for visualizing this model. Plus, this model entails 4 stages of evaluation. And when you go to different evaluation tools or models, there can be 6 stages, there can be 2, there can be 8. So, but we came up with 4 stages, 4 main stages, which is preparation, when you just start preparing for evaluation, mapping stakeholders, the ones who are going to be involved. Then you're going to design, when you're actually choosing the design for your evaluation, when you are choosing the methods, and when you are basically organizing your partners, evaluation partners, around the table. And of course, the execution, where the whole process should be already initiated, and there you get a lot of data, and then you need information on how to store the data, how to organize your data, how to interview, how to do it ethically. So all of these details we outlined there as well. And of course, the latest stage, utilization, and this is one of the most important stage, as this is one of the conclusions that we made in Indeed. So basically on how to use the results of your evaluation. And they can be used in different ways. They can be shared, But first of all, these results are necessary to inform yourself or your evaluation group about the outcomes, about the implementation of your initiative. And what is also very important here, and we also tried to visualize it, that the whole evaluation process is actually a circle. Yeah, so you start from the very beginning and you get to the point when you get certain results, and you use these results in order to improve your initiative, and then you initiate another cycle of evaluation, basically to get another proof that those changes and modifications really work out. So this is a kind of an iterative process that we would like to emphasize in this model. So I think I covered everything, Lena. So if something is missing, just let me know.
Thank you. I think you covered really well what we have done, and Irina has played a very central role in this. I hope you can hear me better now. And I noticed that my connection is unfortunately patchy. It's supposed to be great, but let's hope it works okay from now on. So this evaluation model has been the foundation for all our work in the evaluation package. And while the model is maybe more theoretical, outlining the principles and sort of theoretical details of what evidence-based evaluation means, we have two other elements that are then more hands-on instructions on evaluation. And the first one of them is the e-guidebooks. And now I would like to ask Mina to join me to talk a little bit about the e-guidebooks. They are available already, and they can be found on our website also. But let's first talk a little bit about what these e-guidebooks actually are. Mina, who are they for? What are they for?
The guidebooks are meant for policymakers and practitioners, and also for professional evaluators or academics who evaluate initiatives, or basically anyone who wants to learn more about evaluations. And yeah, as you said, Lena, they explain the principles and practices of evidence-based evaluation and how to conduct or participate in evaluations. And they also give step-to-step instructions on how to properly evaluate an initiative or how to design an initiative so that it can be evaluated. Also, they're kind of like, yes, a manual for our Indeed model.
And can you, Irina, sorry, Mina, tell us where we can find the e-guidebooks? And Irina, if you can you share the
yes, I can share. It's on our it's on our Indeed website. I'll just share it on the chat in case you can't scan the QR code. Yeah, and also they're available in different languages. So in Spanish, Romanian, Polish, German, French, Bulgarian, Italian, Greek, and Latvian, I think, yeah.
Very good. And can you give some examples of topics that are covered? What do these e-guidebooks include?
So the e-guidebook 1 is the one that introduces the basics of evaluation and explains what is an evidence-based approach and why is it important to conduct evaluations in the first place. And then it also contains chapters about different evaluation types, designs, and what are some of the methods for data collection and analysis. Also in this guidebook, there is a chapter on how to choose an evaluator, whether it's an internal or external evaluator, and when to plan the evaluation. Also, it has a chapter on how to conduct evaluations ethically and what is the human rights-based approach to evaluations. Also in this guidebook 1, there's a lot of practical examples of already existing evaluations of PCV initiatives. And the second e-guidebook explains goes into more detail about the evidence-based approach, and it gives step-to-step instructions on the model. So it first explains how to design an initiative, having an evaluation in mind. So for example, how to set objectives of the initiative, or how to collect evidence, or how to monitor and set indicators so that the initiative can be easily evaluated. And then it also contains chapter on the different stages of evaluation based on the model, and it includes the ethical aspects of evaluation. So yeah, that would be the context.
So basically, anyone who is running or funding an initiative, or in any way working in the PV/ECV field, if that person needs to understand what evaluation is, then starting with the eGuidebook 1, and then going on with more details with the eGuidebook 2 would be a good way to start. Then,
Yeah. Let's say the guidebook 1 would be more the theory, and then the second guidebook is to implement the theory. And yeah.
yes, and then in these eGuidebooks we have quite a lot of tips and examples and guidelines for doing evidence-based evaluations. Could you maybe give us a little bit of a sneak peek and share some tips about how to make most of evaluations and do them professionally?
Yes, so one of the tips that the guidebooks give is, for example, that ideally the evaluation should be integrated already in the planning stage of the initiative. So this would be useful so there's enough time to collect all the data and design the monitoring process, and so there's enough evidence for the time of evaluation. Then another tip is that it's important to focus the evaluation on learning, because in this way it helps those involved in the initiative to learn from their errors, and they can improve the initiative. And evaluation should ideally not be connected to funding decisions, because it produces pressure to show success and not learn from evaluation results. And maybe last tip would be to make sure the evaluator has a good understanding of the PCV field, and not just of the methods of evaluation, because this is especially in the case of external evaluators, to be able to make sense of the data and observations from evaluation and put it into the context. So this would be from the tips.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mina. So the eGuidebooks are there for everyone to use, and we hope that you use them. I think they are a great resource for, especially for the PV/ECV field, to get introduced to evaluation easily and not with too many pages to read. And what I would also like to emphasize that we have collected examples of previous evaluations in this field and crime prevention, to give some also more practical ideas about how different kinds of evaluations could look like in this field. Now let's move on to the third part of our evaluation package, and that is the tool. And I will say a few words about that. So, like the eGuidebooks, also the tool is designed especially as a sort of way practitioners and policymakers to use, and we have tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. And like with the whole evaluation package, the purpose here is to introduce to evidence-based evaluation and its different aspects of it. But what is quite unique to this tool compared to other evaluation instructions is that it's for PV/ECV field specifically, useful also for crime prevention, and that it's quite tailored in the sense that it gives you more specific instructions depending on your situation. Again, we are not here talking about ready-to-use evaluation model, so using this doesn't really provide you with a ready-made template. What this tool does is to help you plan an evaluation that follows the principles of evidence-based evaluation. Why we have adopted this kind of approach is that actually, if you conduct evaluations based on the principles of evidence-based practice, you should not even use any kind of or try to strive for using similar kinds of evaluation designs all the time for different types of initiatives or different contexts, because the whole idea here is that that the evaluation is designed so that it also takes the stakeholders' values and needs and context into consideration. Because this kind of evaluation, and what we emphasize a lot is that this is for learning, and they should benefit the initiative. And what is being evaluated here is maybe also good to highlight in order to make sure we are all on the same page. This is for evaluating initiatives, so PV-CV work itself. So when we talk about evaluation here, we do not mean risk assessment, for example, or assessing individual clients who participate in this. Individual clients' assessment may be part of the evaluation methods that are used, but it's not the main purpose here at all. But it's to look at our own work and learn from it. So when you enter the Indeed tool, the first choice that you are presented with is to choose the module that is most suitable for your own situation. And by choosing this module, you then enter a path that brings you the most relevant instructions for your situation. So we have a module for a situation when you are or when you are planning an initiative. You are maybe only starting your initiative. As we said, the Indeed project very much recommends that the evaluation plan is done together with the initiative plan, so that when the initiative is designed, it is already envisioned how it will be evaluated in the future. This makes evaluation much easier, because then you will be able to also design the monitoring and documentation of the initiative in a way that supports the evaluation process later on. Then the second option is for evaluating ongoing initiatives. Here we also then consider that kind of situations when there has not been any evaluation plan for the initiative, as this still we know is realistically the situation in this field at the moment. And then we go through different kinds of options and what kind of factors play a role in what kind of evaluations you can do for ongoing initiatives, depending on what kind of documentation processes you have at place and so forth. And then the model 3 looks at evidence-based evaluation of completed initiatives. These are for initiatives that have already been completed or are soon to be completed, so that you will be able to fully also look at the outcome and impact of the initiative towards its end. And here also we also provide discussion about what kind of outcome evaluation you can do if you have not planned to have an outcome evaluation. There are limitations to it, but there may be something you can do anyway. And the fourth module is maybe requires a little bit more explanation. It's called evidence-based evaluation of single cases. For those who speak the evaluation language, it's basically a kind of a process for single case design type of evaluation. Why we have this here is that we based on the needs assessment, it seemed like many organizations would benefit from an option of small-scale evaluations that they could do that would look only at 1 or 2 client cases, for example, to draw learnings from them. Perhaps even do this internally, as in this PV/CV field, we have actors who find it difficult to bring in an external evaluator, but would still like to do evaluations in order to improve their activities. This evidence-based evaluation of single cases is by no means replacing more large-scale process or outcome or formative evaluations, but it is sort of a supporting additional option and something you may perhaps start with if you do not have any experience in planning evaluations. One thing that also comes up as a recommendation, and what we have also discovered, is that usually a good path towards solid evaluations of an initiative starts with doing something small first, and maybe start with the single case evaluations, then move on to doing process evaluations, and then after some experience, then outcome evaluations, which tend to be the most demanding ones, both methodologically, but also in terms of what kind of data you need for them. Then when you choose one of the modules, you will then be presented with instructions for that particular situation, so that you will know what the options are at this stage of your initiatives, what kind of things you should consider, so that you get or can start orienting towards planning and conducting evaluations. And then the important part, or very important part of the tool, is then also that when you know what type of evaluation is good for you, for your situation, then the tool gives you step-by-step instructions for planning and conducting 3 common main types of evaluation: formative, process, and outcome evaluation. So formative evaluation looks mostly at the initiative plan in the early stages of its implementation, or only when it's only being designed, or when the initiative is redesigned. Process evaluation looks at how the initiative is going, how the implementation is working, and the outcome evaluation then evaluates the outcome of it. And the step-by-step instructions are following the evidence-based evaluation model. You can see the progress bar down there. You can see the colors of the different stages of the evaluation model. And it then lays out in detail what each of these stages involves in the case of these different types of evaluation. What is good to maybe emphasize here also is that this tool is meant for practitioners and policymakers to build knowledge on what evaluation is and understand what evaluation includes, so that they can be partners in evaluation, and they know how they should consider evaluation when they are designing and implementing the initiative. for actually implementing evaluation, you will need to also or use some additional resources, especially for methods and design. But with this tool, when you have used the tool, you have a much better idea of what kind of knowledge is needed, and when you also understand what kind of evaluation you want to have and what the evaluator should be able to do, it becomes easier to think about who the evaluator could be. And the tool instructions could be used for both situations of that you have an external evaluator and also for internal evaluator, and it also includes materials that help you to understand the pros and cons of both options here, and to make the decision what is best in your case. There are also some other elements in the tool. There are some ethics checklists and other checklists that help you to focus on certain elements of your evaluation planning to make sure that you have considered them carefully, and also a form for the evaluation action plan to then write down and to design your own evaluation. In the tool itself, you will not be able to enter any information, and also the tool doesn't save any data from the users. We wanted to have it this way so that everyone can feel safe using it for their purposes and in different kinds of contexts. And the tool is not yet available. It will be available through the toolkit on the Indeed website late this year, and we will continue expanding and improving the tool until the end of our project in early autumn next year. But I hope this gives you an idea of what to expect, and you will very soon be able to also see for yourself and test yourself how this tool works and how it can be used. And we really hope that it will be used and you will find it useful. We have really done our best to understand and then what the practitioners and policymakers should know in our field about evaluation, and then put it in an easily used way that still gives quite detailed information, so that it does not only pinpoint to what is important, but also explains and gives some information about why it's important and the details of it. So now we have arrived to the end of our tour around the evaluation package, and we still have some time, so we can take your questions and comments, and Stefan has kindly agreed to moderate the questions and answers part, and me and Irina and Mina will gladly answer any questions you may have.
Okay, then let's see if there are any questions from the audience. As you know, you have different features you can use to express yourself. You can ask a question in the Q&A. You can also raise your hand. We will try to keep an eye on all of these options. There were 2 questions already in the chat, which I hope were satisfyingly answered. Let's maybe give you a moment to formulate and see if there are any questions or comments that you have.
I might pick up the question about about initiatives or what was on the chat about the terminology. We in the Indeed project, we have used initiatives as a general term for different kinds of programs and actions and strategies and policies in the PV/CV field. The terminology is quite unsystematic in the field, so that these different terms have different meanings. But for initiatives, as we understand here, it includes policies and strategies in national or local or regional levels. It includes long-term programs, which are longer-running programs, more systematic programs that can be run in different kinds of contexts, like exit functions in prisons that are permanent, pretty much, or at least operate for a longer time. It also includes short-term actions, which are then more kind of more limited duration. And we have also looked at ad hoc interventions that are not really part of any kind of proactive initiative, but rather that kind of PV/CV work that many professionals do as part of their daily work, for example, in law enforcement or social work. And it is especially for these kinds of contexts that we have created the single case option for evaluation.
Thank you, Irina. There is a question by Kai, but before we get to that one, let's maybe give the mic to Mohammed, who raised his hand. I'm not sure how we do that exactly, but I'm confident we've got technical support staff which can make this happen.
Yeah, are you guys getting me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, greetings to each and everyone in this platform. I'm really happy to be part of this particular program. Thank you, Kai, for this very good initiative. First of all, I'm not that much much more experience when it comes to in the case of monitoring and evaluation. Even though I do have that interest in it when I started working as a civic education officer in my country, because I get to see that I do design civic awareness programs and get to implement them across the country with the participation of women and youths and grassroots leaders in the area of raising awareness, democratic governance, and that of human rights, and also peace building. As a country, the Gambia, we just emerged from 22 years of dictatorship. So there is a big vacuum of lack of civic awareness among us as citizens. So, but yet still, I know there is a good presentation being done in that of monitoring and evaluation and that of evidence-based. But I would like and really appreciate for someone to take me through a snapshot of on how to design a monitoring and evaluation or evidence-based monitoring in area of advocacy, because this is something which I once did, but it was something that I implemented, and then later on, the following, I think 5 weeks later, I decided to visit the particular community, and then from my engagement with the people, I get to realize that yes, some of them do understand the issues that we do talk about some time ago, but others were not in the position of trying to exactly narrate to me of what they have learned. So I'm trying to see or trying to learn from fellows like you who are very experienced in different domains to take me through so that I can also be in the very, good position. Because currently we have been seeing the issue of migration within the African countries to the European countries, and this is something which is a big concern for us as a civic educator. Engaging the young people on the dangers of migration, but with the help of this evidence-based monitoring will help me a lot. Sorry for the broadening of my question, but I guess someone out there get to understand what I'm saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for the question. Shall we perhaps collect a few questions and then answer, seeing as we only have about 10 minutes or so left, and we should probably also end early, seeing as the next sessions are starting in 10 minutes sharp. So there is an additional question in the Q&A section by Abdulatif. I'm going to read it out quickly. Are you planning for outreach plans for international organizations, including UN bodies, of PVE component to share the plan toolkit and include more communities of practice, considering the dynamic of violent extremism and its implications on the mandate of various international actors? Then let me move to the chat, where we first had a question by Kai. That question is, what will be done to bring the evaluation model you have developed to the field? Can you tell us a bit about how Indeed as a project is working with practitioners and how you will share and promote these important tools you've developed? And then we've got a final question by Hassan, and he asks about the offer of Indeed, and he asked, does Indeed offer études supérieures, that is in the areas of peace, intercultural dialogue, non-violence, etc. Is there someone who would like to start and take one of these questions, or several?
Maybe I can quickly start because the time is running. So as for promotions, let's start with this tricky question from Kai. Yes, we started, let's say, promoting our products. Let's speak, or let's use the business language, although the business language doesn't apply to research outcomes, although this is arguable as well. So we basically were involved in the co-design process. Yeah, we listened to stakeholders. We were coming to different meetings with practitioners. We were invited to RAD practitioners meeting to present our approach. We also did a few exercises with law enforcement, just basically being straight in their offices and trying to go through our materials and see how everything works. So basically using this co-design approach already helped us to kind of evoke interest in the final products, because at that time, or at that point of time when we were testing the ground, the products were not ready. And yes, I can tell you that there is a lot of interest in the field, because this is, I think in this project we tapped a really, really gray area, which is becoming, perhaps changing the color already due to the presence of Indeed. And of course we are going to use all our promotional resources and channels to boost the promotion of our output through the website, through all kinds of promotional campaign. So we have a communication partner as well. But what is important is maybe not to promote, but really to sense and to see that there is interest. And this is exactly what we saw. So we are confidently going into that direction. I don't know. How about others? How do you feel about answering other questions? I don't want to privatize the microphone.
Well, our hope would also be that when this project finishes, this will continue in some format, and the results would be actively used as part of the knowledge hub that is being built in the EU. And we will have many more events. We will have trainings also as part of the program or the project, and different events, and also one whole webinar dedicated to the tool and how it can be used in, and where we explain in more detail. And in the Indeed projects, we also have the national smart hubs that we have already engaged with, but also will engage again. So local networks of practitioners and policymakers. And our consortium includes 15 EU countries, so or 14 plus UK. So we already cover quite a lot of the European territory here. And this project has been primarily now designed for the EU context, but obviously we very much welcome any kind of expansion or that this would be used also outside these countries and outside the context that we are now working on in the future. I think, Stefan, we are running out of time now.
If there is 1 minute, maybe I'll try to answer Mohammed's question, because I think that it's also very important to. Yes, so I think we are talking about different things. So we distinguish between monitoring and evaluation. So this is perhaps one of those conclusions that we made in the project. So in monitoring, you are just basically collecting and organizing your data. But with evaluation, you are really applying analysis to the results. And also you are kind of involving stakeholders into the process. So that is perhaps the difference between monitoring and evaluation in our sense. It is very difficult perhaps to tell that to have this kind of snapshot which would allow for a quick evaluation, because evaluation is a very complex process and it requires resources to organize this. However, you can use the evaluation for self-learning. So, and of course, let's say you can apply a little bit of kind of the easiest form of evaluation, which might not be as the one which really involves expertise, for example, but which would also kind of direct you in a certain way and show you if you are on the right way or not. So yeah, so these are my takeaway. And Lena, I don't know if you would like to continue, if there is time, maybe 1 minute.
Yes, one common way to do evaluations about how the attitudes of people have changed is that a survey is, they are made to sort of fill in a survey or take an interview or group discussion before the initiative or the intervention starts, and then later on to see whether how they think then. But what suits to which context, whether it is a questionnaire or an interview or a survey, it needs to be decided then how to do it. But the idea anyway is that you have some kind of way to compare how they thought before you started, so that you can then see what the situation then is later.
I think with that, we'd like to say thank you to Lena, Irina, Minna, and Stefan for an excellent introduction, presentation, and overview of what is truly the result of a tremendous amount of work and engagement, both by the 4 principal colleagues and researchers that have presented today, and also by the many partners and stakeholders involved in the Indeed project. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us in this special presentation, and we hope that you will also take the opportunity now and in the future to visit the Indeed project platform. We will send out the links to that platform to everyone, as well as direct links to the e-guidebooks and the other instruments which have been mentioned today, and also to the earlier report led by Stefan and colleagues on evidence-based evaluation in the field. We're now approaching the first series of sessions for day 2 of the forum, and we'd like to invite everyone to go to the schedule button and choose which of the 4 sessions you'd like to join now. We will have one session on designing evidence-based practice, how to use evidence to design PCVE de-radicalization and crime prevention interventions. A second session on dealing with issues of inclusion, voice, cultural competency, and gender, social and ethical issues in evaluation in the PCVE and de-radicalization field. And another session on an evidence-based evaluation with challenges and opportunities working with young people with high complex needs. The 4th session you can also choose is on training and building national capacities for evaluation and evidence-based policymaking and practice. We hope everyone has had a good start to day 2 of the Indeed International Policy and Practitioners Forum, and invite you now to click on the schedule button and choose the session you would like to go to for our first series of parallel sessions today. Thank you very much, and thank you once again, Lena, Irina, Mina, and Stefan, for your superb presentation and sharing with us the Indeed evaluation package. Thank you.